everybody, welcome to Sonic Talk, episode 814, today at the end of August, 28th of the 8th, 2024. This is the Music Technology Podcast. We're going to be talking about stuff like synthesizers, drum machines, software, live performance, recording, all of that kind of stuff. That's our usual want. I want to say, before we get going, hello to everybody in the chat. Got a bumper crop in there. Wagyu seems to have got all the back end working and is moderating like only he knows how. Thank you very much. Hey, nice to see you get Jervis, James Glue, Borislav von Berliklen. Oh, I haven't seen that before. That's a name I won't be pronouncing easily. Tracker Jack. Oh, Div Kid. Aquatic Borealis, Lucrative Production, Smarty 1970. I suspect it's our guests that have boosted that the chat room. Nice to see everybody. I'm just going to do a bit of housekeeping and drop an ad in for our new Patreon because we've got a new one. Let me tell you about our Patreon. You get all of our reviews ad-free, so you don't have to put up with those pesky ads like this one. And also, we post extra content for many of our reviews. Never before seen footage from the archives. We've got 70 sounds and patches posts, 137 exclusive videos, a growing collection of impulse responses from classic reverbs, and 36 sets of samples from reviewed units, many in decent sampler format. In fact, the music you're listening to now was mostly made using our decent sampler and sample sets. So if you want to join us, head over to patreon.com/Sonicstate. Yeah, and I want to thank Paulie for doing the music bed. Nice work there, Paulie. As always, extremely talented in the music department. Beat my rather lackluster last attempt, but yeah, using all the decent sampler. So anyway, do check it out, and we welcome. And while I'm plugging, don't forget you can join us on YouTube as memberships. You could get those extra emojis, which I'm sure the members in the chat will demonstrate now. We've added a few more because we've upped our numbers. Okay, right, now housekeeping done. We can introduce our guests. I'll go from right to left. We'll start in the studio with Yoad Nevo, who's their Nevo Sound. Is there a cat running on a piano somewhere? I think that's great.
Yeah,
I think there might be.
Sorry.
Excellent. No, I like that.
Okay.
No, I think that's marvelous. Anyway, Yoad, how are you? Are you well?
Yeah, not bad. Thanks. Good to be back here after a while.
Yeah, it feels like a while. So I guess you've been doing your Atmos mixes and doing plugin development and whatnot. I've seen you on a recent promo for the new compressor in Bitwig, right? So you had something to do with that. I think you might have spoken about that last time.
Yeah, really good compressor, and I enjoyed helping the guys developing it a little bit, and really good compressor, and it's cool to see. I don't know, because I'm wearing two hats. One is kind of the third-party plugin manufacturer, and the other is just a plugin user. But I think that it's nice to see a stock compressor that comes with a DAW or inside the DAW, which is so sophisticated and sounds so good. And I have to say, it's quite easy to operate as well at the same time. So.
Excellent. I think the cat's working on the symphony at the moment, so you should be recording this, Sam, just in case it comes up with something really usable.
Maybe change the sound.
Yeah. So Yoad, is that am I looking at a C12 that's lying on your desk that being used as a microphone for talkback?
It's not a C12. It's actually it looks like a C12. It's a bit smaller. It's actually a prototype of a stereo mic, which sounds amazing. I don't know who made it because it said on eBay. I just spotted it and I just bought it, and it said that it's a prototype, probably Chinese something. It sounds astonishing. It sounds really amazing, and the fact that it's a stereo mic means, hold on, that I can record. And sorry, it comes with a kind of Y splitter because it's a 5-pin thingy here, which gets stuck.
So you can do mid-side and stuff
here,
as well,
anyway.
right?
So I can put it like that and record a stereo acoustic guitar, which was always, I hate doing the two mics and the two stands and all that. And especially when I record, I'm just too lazy to go to the other room and it's dead quiet in here. The only thing that makes a bit of noise is the STG sound grid. But I disconnected one of the fans, so it runs on just one. It's nothing. Other than that, it's dead quiet. So I just play guitar.
Oh, you just put it on the desk and play guitar while it's lying on the desk.
Yeah, like nice. That. It's perfect. It's amazing. So, and to not have to have two mics and whatever, it really amazing. And you can change the angle, so you can do like 90 degrees, so you can do MS and stuff, and it's really sounding amazing. I'm really happy with it. I used to use Earthworks and stuff like that, and I have a Neumann 86i, which is great for piano and acoustic guitars. I have a pair, but just to have two of them here is such a mess, and this is perfect for me.
Nice and easy. So, excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear you. I'm glad to hear you found a use for that desk finally as a mic stand.
Exactly. Yeah, it's actually quite a big mic stand.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you could have a lot of mics in there. All right. Well, next up is Ben DivKid. Back, haven't seen you for ages. You've been very busy. Ben, of course, as well as being a busy YouTuber, is you just released your Trace module with Vostok, right? Yeah. So I guess have you been doing the publicity treadmill?
Yeah. I'm just here to shill. No, a bit of that. I've been interested in scanners for a while, and it's one of those where the original idea is years old, and then Jose brought his Vostok range out. I knew Jose when he used to work at Bafako. The first four modules are really good. He then made a quad filter called Atlas, and he put a scanner at the bottom, and it's quite small, almost like a footnote on the module, and it will just scan through the outputs of the four multi-mode filters. And it kind of made me go back to the idea and just really simplify it in 4HP, and I just sent the email, Jose, can we make this? And he was like, yeah. Near enough got the circuit. We'd need to tweak it a bit. So quite a quick production on Trace, which was nice. And yeah, it's nice when that works out. Like EQ ideas came from, again, ideas that had sat around for a while, but then Bafako brought products out and I was like, I just want that, but in this shape and size and with these features. So yeah, it's nice when it just kind of someone else is on a similar train of thought and you can just pull them off for a minute and work with them. But yeah, absolutely. Working with Trace. Just put up a video with some 5U actually, which isn't behind me, despite all the gear stacked up behind me. So that's been fun, getting into 1/4-inch jacks, bigger knobs, bigger layouts, playing around in the 5U space. So yeah,
it's the way it's meant to be. Big jacks.
Yeah. Well, I've not gone metric 5U. I wanted to ask you that while you're here, Sam.
Close enough.
I'm I don't know what we'll call it, the American Imperial 5U system.
Yeah, Imperial 5U, yeah.
I've not gone metric 5U with Cosmo yet. But there were quite a few comments, actually, were like, you need to try Cosmo, So really? Yeah, I think I should.
I mean, Cosmo's kind of like the low-cost alternative to proper 5U, though, so you're going the right way with the proper stuff.
Excellent. Well, that kind of neatly segued into our next guest, which is Sam, of course. Sam Battle, aka Look Mum No
Hello.
Computer, YouTuber extraordinaire, inventor, musician, all of those things. I know you also make your own modules, but I mean, part of the reason you're on here, you've also got a very efficient publicist who got in touch and said, Sam's got a new EP out. So your new EP, which is, right, hold on, I've got to actually press the button. Right. Okay, well, I guess we could go there straight away, but I'm trying to find I'm trying to find the thing, aren't I? I could because it's got my facts in it, my notes. Portakosmo 2.0, that's right. And you had a gig quite recently to support the EP in the church. So shall I play the video now and then you can talk about it? Why don't I do that? That's probably the easiest thing, isn't it? Give it a go. Right, there's a bit of, this is a recording, Portakosmo. I don't know what the name of this track is specifically, but this was, I guess, in the same church as you did the gig.
That was the gig.
You could download You could download the EP from Bandcamp and all of that stuff. Yeah, all of that stuff. So how's it going?
Yeah, not bad. Like, that show was pretty funky because it was playing with a synthesizer that I basically built in the 3 weeks beforehand, and then I wrote a song a day for a week and a half, and then that's what it came out like. It was pretty funny. No singing in this, which was nice because I just got to mess with the synthesizers. But yeah, it was very fun. But yeah, I'm all right. The cat stopped playing the piano now. They've buggered off now. That's all right.
Well, I did play some synthesizers. Maybe they're not so fond of the dulcet tones, even though I'm sure your synths sound fantastic. But some cats are. These modules. So I was curious about how you did this actually, because you've got the tapes rolling. Is that record or playback? Because obviously some of these compositions are quite melodically complicated. You know, they're not just an 8-bar loop. You know, and so I was wondering what you use to kind of drive some of the backing and play on top. Just out of curiosity.
Well, I didn't. I initially went in with the plan of just using the 8 and 16 step sequences in various guises throughout the show. But as I was writing the songs, they got more complicated. I was like, oh, bummer. This is getting so some of them were MIDI sequences that I had on this Arduino that takes the MIDI from an SD card and then plays the MIDI for the synths to play. So it was half and half. The tape machine is what you're hearing. So because I recorded all of the songs down to the 4-track tape live whilst I was recording the songs one a day, making a video for them, that was onto the tape machine. So I thought it would be nice to record the actual gig instead of, digitally onto the camera, onto the tape machine, and then overlay the audio onto the video afterwards.
It's got a nice retro look, hasn't it? Having a 2-track rolling in the background, it kind of reminds you of early Depeche Mode videos and the sort of, the kind of that sort of vibe. So it sets a tone, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah, it does a bit. Yeah, like all of that was like they were using a Tascam mixer as well. It was just going back to like basics of basics. I say that like back to the old synth the way approach. So it's just 4 big chunky synth voices, about 3 there was only 3 drums that I had built in time, and then a drum, and then a 16-step trigger sequencer and things like that, and then the 2 Korg MS-10s. So yeah,
because you usually play those live. I'm constantly amazed because your projects that you seem to set up. I mean, aside from the ones that just seem so ridiculously ambitious, yet they somehow come together. Do you thrive on having a kind of ridiculous deadline? Is that how you operate?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm just curious.
I can't operate any other way.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Does that give you the energy, do you think, to kind of like keep it going? I mean, or otherwise,
definitely,
or the focus. I suppose to some degrees, when you've got an impending car crash, you tend to focus more carefully on the road, as it were.
Yeah. It's something I think I didn't. I just thought I had really bad focus before, but then I realised how to kind of like for myself hone in the ability of just just jumping in the deep end and just not doing something solid for 2 weeks and only thinking of that. It's not possible for everybody to do that, but it just really helps me get things done.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Just going back to the modules again. So the modules that you built for this, are they then going to go into production? Are they going to be added to your range of Cosmo?
Yeah. Well, this was one of the most annoying. So I built this massive. It's basically 8 input, 4 output, VCA on every single knob matrix, and I designed it. I designed it on the PCB, and the PCB turned up, and it turns out it's basically the same voltage controlled amplifier copied 32 times on a PCB, and I made the same 4 mistakes on each of the circuits. So I spent a day with a Stanley knife and jumper cable, just having to make these jumpers. It was hell on earth. It was awful, but I had to get it done because it was for the gig. So yeah. But yeah, they will be.
I'm curious about how does everybody else work to deadlines? I mean, I know because Ben, you're a busy guy. You've got lots of I mean, I imagine Yoad, some of your deadlines are a nightmare. Do you like having them, or do you prefer a longer runway to be able to? Of
course, I do, because limitation is key to everything. Whether it's not enough gear or not enough processing power or not enough time, whatever it is, it just gets you going better and kind of squeezing more juice out of anything and anyone. So absolutely.
Oh, interesting. What about you, Ben? I mean, I guess, with family and juggling, it's sort of what I found when my daughter was born is, I didn't have that. I used to sit there and noodle and just kind of mess around and kind of, I'd get something in the end. When that time gets taken away, you have to really reevaluate how you use it when you've got it, right?
Yeah. Well, that idea of noodle time and family, I have 2 girls, 6 and 2 years old, and I'd like leaving the door up. There is a lock on the door, so I'm in a room off the side of the house. And I like leaving it unlocked. I do like them coming in and being curious, and it's nice that they want to see daddy and all that sort of stuff. It's lovely. But I do tend to get, I guess, in some of Sam's mindset of, I'm going to lock the door, I'm going to tell them the door's locked. The kids are old enough that they won't just wail on the door handle endlessly. They understand if it doesn't open, I'm busy. But I get very tunnel visioned. It's the only way I kind of get through things, really. I can't, at the fault of everything else sometimes, other things will slip because this is what I'm doing and I'm going to do this and this is the job. And a bit like that today with a video of just, that's all I'm doing. Almost to the expense of I'll talk to no one else.
Apart from that, you've got us. We're here too. I feel honoured. That you didn't blow us out at the last minute.
I get the impression, as I say, Sam, like you, because I've seen your projects where you'll introduce something and show a bit of soldering, and then you're like, right, I've got to do this 600 times over now, back in a bit, and it'll just time lapse. I think, have you just literally sat there for like 7 hours and just worked through, I don't know, 50 tape heads or whatever? You just seem
it's harder sometimes. Sometimes it's harder than others, but a lot of the time it's basically just sat there, and I'm usually just whistling or watching, I don't know, dodgy car reviews.
Background radio on kind of thing.
And then I look at my phone and there's just loads more unread things that I could possibly read, and then that kind of builds up over a week, and then you realise that you haven't. You're that plonker that hasn't replied to anybody or something like that. You just, like you say, tunnel vision, isn't it? It's sometimes.
Yeah. I think sometimes I find that when I have to do coding, because you have to sort of when I'm doing a review, I can dip in and out, but when I'm coding or writing something for, behind the scenes, I have to be immersed in it. And I know I'm sort of conscious if I start doing something, I thought I'd only take half an hour, but I suspect 4 hours later, I'll still be trying to figure out why it's not working or whatever. And I have to say, revelation, and this is one great use of AI, if you're using a language that is in the canon of information, you could just go, post your code and go, why is this not working? And it'll say,
really?
This. And you can often just sort of go, okay, I need to put an error handler in here. Can you do it for me? And it will do it. And then you can try it and just go, oh, that works. I would recommend that for anybody who's not a professional coder, but somebody who just needs to kind of get stuff done. It can really save an awful lot of time, because you go around. I do stuff where I'm just sort of writing. I'm trying different syntaxes because I don't really know it. So whereas if you just get someone to tell you, it's like, oh yeah, you do that. So, yeah.
Well, you can always not do it, is the thing with that. I think rather than being totally anti it, not to necessarily open up a big AI conversation, you can always not do it. It can tell you this is why, and you should put this in, and you can go, no. It's just the point of checking, isn't it?
It is. But I just want to get it done. It's sort of like, I've spent long enough on this, right? Okay, bang, I need to move on, because before I do the bit I want to do, I've got to do this bit. So it's sort of, that's how it works. But anyway, interesting discussion. We do have topics. I think what I'll do is I'll just start in with I'll take a quick ad break, and then we'll get onto them.
In a world full of noise, cut through with iZotope RX11, the complete suite of audio repair tools for post-production, music, and content creation. Powered by cutting-edge machine learning and industry-first technology. This is everything you need to clean up your audio in seconds. Fix flaws with laser precision and release your tracks with confidence. RX11, the definitive toolkit for audio repair.
Yes, indeed. And don't forget, you can also save 10% on any purchases. You head over to iZotope.com/Sonictalk. There's a special page there, and you can use the coupon code. I'll get it out there eventually. Sonic10 to claim 10% off your iZotope plug-in purchase. And also, or try Music Production Suite free for 30 days. There we go. We thank them very much for their support. It's much appreciated. Okay, we're going to go back for some real retro action. So I do have a video here. I think actually, maybe what I'll do is, I'll start with the video, which isn't really for the product, but I think it'll set the tone.
Check out the intro. I say, yo, it's the Rapman, fresh from Casio.
This is a classic vintage ad for the Casio Rapman, which actually was a kind of a big keyboard at the time, even though it looked like a bit of a joke and sort of terrible cultural appropriation. It's actually, the reason this is here, because One Trick B-Boi Rapman, they've just produced... this, which is kind of cute. This is a One Trick B-Boy. This is kind of interesting because it's a plugin that's available for Clap. It's available for VST3, and you can also get the source code, which is something I've not seen before. And it's just basically it takes a bunch of sounds from the Rap 1, Rap 10, and Rap 2. There's DJ 1, 8 voices with locate, and it's a bit of fun. But I think possibly the main reason it's there is because the fact that you can get hold of the source code, which I think is kind of a really interesting thing. But it brings up two topics really. First one is obviously the Rapman of keyboards of that time, SK1. I mean, all of it. I'm guessing, Sam, you're going to be all over this because I'm pretty sure you must have circuit bent this kind of stuff back in the day before you got onto your.
I haven't circuit bent that one yet. I'm on eBay right now, having a look, see if I can find one. Casio.
Well,
Rapman.
It was 1991. Originally, it was $89.99, which was about the equivalent of 300 quid these days. So it wasn't an insignificant amount of money. And there were quite a few keyboards with that scratch plate, weren't there? There was the DJI, which the Yamaha. I really swear by that. That's a great thing. I sampled so many drum sounds from that ended up on commercial records. They were through a Sherman filter bank. They were absolutely stuffed with it. But it's just great fun, isn't it? All of these. But you haven't. So maybe you'll tone bend one at some other point. That's the other thing. That's cool,
it's really cool. Like having a look, like they're looking on the internet. There's been quite a few videos on them. Bad Gear's done one. Adam Neely, Simon the Magpie. So get to have a listen to all the sounds, and then I'm going to try find one on eBay.
Yeah, why not?
Chop it up.
That's fun. Is it? I know, Yoad. I'm guessing. Yeah, have you got one there?
Yeah,
or is that an SK?
This one.
What's that one?
I think it's slightly more modern, but it has those drum sounds. It doesn't have the scratch pad, but it has all the rest. The battery has died, but and I have. So this one is one of the more modern ones. Obviously, I have the VL.
Yeah, I got the VL Tone.
It's called VL Tone, this one, which is not that great. But this one I love because it has the chord things. And I just, for like kind of weird organy sounds and stuff, I just put a mic here and record it through the speakers and just play the chords in. And it just has this amazing sound, especially, so it's like, recording a cabinet sort of thing, if you want to call it that. And
do you get a bass boost with bass proximity if you stick a cardioid on it, or are you going to use your new fancy stereo mic?
Because this speaker is so tiny that it doesn't know the meaning of the word bass, however close you put your mic to it, but it has a vibe, it has a sound. And I like what they call piano, which is basically kind of a sawtooth with low pass and long release, and they call it piano. But it has a vibe. Certainly.
So yeah, I see you're a fan of that kind of stuff. Ben, have you got any dirty secrets in your closets? I mean, I imagine your small children would much prefer a DJ Rapman to play with than perhaps,
they would,
dare I say it, a Trace module.
Yeah, maybe. They've not come and played Trace yet. I'm gutted. They have played with the other ones that have lots more blinking lights. With a VL Tone that they come in and play with. I can't remember the Casio keyboard I had as a kid. I think it was in the loft say 5 years ago, parents clearing out. It's like, I remember that, but we didn't keep it for whatever reason. But the small speaker thing and the sampling, they've stopped doing them in cigarette amps, I guess.
I remember those, yeah.
To stop promoting smoking. But those small plastic speakers, and I've got one, these are 25, not that this isn't sponsored or endorsed, but the Jam Jar, handmade in Wales, £25 guitar amp with a speaker in the lid. I absolutely love it, running anything through it. So there's a tiny, that's the speaker. And then you have a 9-volt battery.
Like a transistor radio speaker, presumably.
Yeah, and then jacks on the side. It's meant for guitar, and strangely, what always surprises me, it'll drive a 4x12 cab and be loud enough that you need to roll your guitar volume down. It's crazy. And yeah, in a kind of love of
you can fill the jar up with honey or jam or something and see how it affects the sound.
Sweeter
I'm sure
tone.
it will sound very sweet.
A sweeter tone, yeah. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I've got to find a title in there somewhere. Come on, chat room. Give us a title that's punned around those facts. There's got to be one there. That's interesting, Ben. You've got to get two and use them like a pair of Auratones for mixing on, surely.
Yeah, some of those next to the monitors in the Jam Jar. I'd have to get the matching lid. It'd have to be the red gingham lid, otherwise it wouldn't be the same.
No.
Yeah, they're great. I love it. And I love those things exactly for what Yoad said, vibe. And when I used to make samples, I won't say for a living, but professionally to a degree, anything like that I could sample and repurpose, run it through different bits of gear. I wouldn't be interested in one now, personally. I've enough stuff in here, but I'd certainly take some samples of it and then pass it on to someone else.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. You've done a load of speakers as well. I mean, because you've got that kind of crazy multi-Leslie spinning octopus thing. Do you, are you not tempted just to use that all the time? It must be so much fun.
Oh, well, God, I haven't been allowed to use it for the past couple of weeks because my friend was making an art installation for the same festival, Ramsgate Festival of Sound, as I did the show in. And he had 4 Revox, what are they called? A55s, those Revox tape machines. And they were doing
A77s, maybe, yeah.
A77s, that's the one. They were doing really big tape loops. There's 4 of them. So they're all different lengths and the people come in and perform on them. And then they all go out of sync with each other. And each of them go into one of the Leslies around you.
Oh, my God.
And then they're all
That's
spinning.
Like nausea-inducing.
Yeah. It's mad. But there's a couple of other interesting speakers that I've got a hold of recently I'm going to be doing videos on, including this one called, there's a Compton organ speaker that is basically, there's a speaker underneath every single pipe of organ, and it's not about them doing, they just make different resonant sounds depending on how long the tubes are with the speakers in them. I'm doing a very bad way of describing it. It's just an old 1960s church speaker thing. Mad.
I'm trying to think what your... I mean, you must be endless. Do you have a sort of army of spotters that find interesting things, or are you literally always just finding this kind of stuff? And how do you actually find time to live a life? I
don't know. I mean, so right now that it started snowballing really since opening the museum and whatnot. People are kind of getting contacts and this and that, and then sometimes you see stuff on Facebook Marketplace or YouTube, or somebody emails saying, "Have you seen this?" And then other times, right now, there's Lucien Nunez Vaz, who sadly passed away last year. He was setting up a museum himself, and he's got this very large collection, and we along with other museums are divvying it out at the minute. And there's like these Compton organ speakers that I mentioned, they were in his collection. So we've just come back with a van full of stuff yesterday. So plenty of videos to talk about these machines.
How interesting. I mean, I guess, because that's one of the things. I mean, it's because of what we all do, I suppose, is so niche in a way, to continually find something else that's next that kind of continues the thread of your creativity. It's good that's never going to dry up. Brilliant to hear. I don't know. It's I mean, I guess you're the same, Yoad, with plugins as well. I mean, you have do you have those sort of ideas? You wake up in the middle of the night and go, by Jove, I've had a eureka moment. I think we should, maybe I could try this. Maybe this is a concept.
I wish it was that simple. I mean, I do have those moments, but when you work, I worked for Waves for many, many years. And it started as a very small company, but it grew and grew. And when you work for a medium size to a big company in that field, there are so many things. Like, Apple released a new OS, so suddenly half the company is dedicated to that and that, and you have a lot of stuff in the pipeline. And so I managed to get a few kind of quirky things like Q-clone and super tap delay and things like that, which are not really, kind of managed to sneak them in, and a lot of other stuff throughout the years. But usually you have a plan, and you have this, and you do market research and all that, and it's really boring. And since I left Waves, I work with smaller companies like Cable Guys and Ginger Audio and STL Tones.
A bit more nimble, I suppose.
Agile and much more, and Baby Audio. So it's the time from an idea to execution and to product is much shorter, basically.
It's interesting that brings me back to the notion of the creative cycle, which was something that kind of interested me in web development to begin with, because I started off working on albums, you're working on things that can take a really from start to finish, or CD-ROMs, for goodness sake, they took years. And I just thought, I kind of felt the creative cycle is much more fun when you can just go, I know. And then maybe a day, maybe a week, maybe an hour, maybe a short.
It's never. People think, hey, let's make a plugin, and I get a lot of emails and a lot of, hey, why don't you do that, and why don't you do? And people think, hey, that's a good idea. I'll do it, and you'll have it. I'll have it released in 2 weeks. It doesn't work like that. Everything. No. I've not been involved in the past 10 years or something. In any product that took less than, I don't think even half a year, probably like a year.
Interesting. Yeah. I suppose that's the complexity of software. In many ways, hardware manufacturer has its own challenges, and software doesn't. I suppose more. So. Well, you got both, because then you got to write the software as well, right, Sam? I mean, that's the thing.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, we're currently bringing out the Eurorack modules again of basically the Cosmo designs but shrunk down, and I've got this one that's a sequencer at the minute, and the code is driving me up the wall. There's this slight bug so I might do what you're doing with the AI and just be like, Mr. I got to figure out how to do that.
Well, you just pay. You take the code, you paste it in, you explain that there's a problem with it, that this is the error I get, and it goes, oh, try this. I mean, it depends on the language, obviously, but I don't know what language you're using, so it depends.
C++, it's like silly language.
Yeah, probably will. So, I don't know anything about that language, but yeah. All right, let's get on to another topic. We've got this one. Yeah, Waldorf microwave now in software form. I know Yoad will be delighted by this. He's got some of those, I think, on microwave too. They've brought it out. The original is a classic hybrid design combining wavetable oscillators and analog filters. Built on the PPG legacy. They brought this out as a virtual instrument. They say it's been painstakingly recreated from the original hardware with all its idiosyncrasies and wonderful singularities, but it's better. It's currently €119, and there it is. I don't know. A lot of people have a lot of love for those early Waldorfs. I mean, I'll come to you last, because I know you'll have an opinion on this. And did you ever get into the Waldorf world? I mean, lots of people absolutely love it. That kind of digital analog hybrid, the actual hardware and the bold colours are very, very recognisable instruments. Is that something that you're familiar with, Sam?
Me. It hasn't fallen onto my lap yet, so I don't really have much experience with that stuff, so you're gonna have to skip me for this. But what I heard then sounds PPG-ish, so I quite like it.
I think that's lovely. The sort of notion of it, isn't it? I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, Ben? These kind of, now we're almost getting to the point where these things will run in Eurorack if you go Meta Module or VCV or whatever. It's kind of this whole notion is everybody can access everything, although that's still got the look, which is a part of it, and it's real Waldorf as well, of course.
Yeah, I really like the Blofeld. Had that for quite some time. what got to me with that as a piece of hardware, not to sidestep into the Blofeld too much, all the bits I found most interesting were kind of on the in-between menus where you had to scroll a page or two between the main controls. And I tried different editors and never really got on with that. That's ultimately why it went. The thing I'd want with this, because I'm a little bit out of the software world, so maybe the chat can kind of tell me these things do this very well now. If I'm going to use this over, say, a modern powerful synth like Serum or Vital or any other those other kind of powerhouse synth plugins, I kind of want it to sound like a Wave times 10. I really want it to sound like something, whatever that was, aliasing, the AD conversion or DA conversion. I kind of want it to really, much like I would a module, you kind of go to a certain, say, filter module because that one drives a lot, bites a lot, or it does the Moog thing very well. Instead of just using software for what I use software for, which is, really flexible, powerful, kind of modern synthesizers, I want it to really sound more like a Wave than the Wave did. Now, even if that's a drop down, if it's a bad example, but if it was like an analog model and there was an instability control, I want to crank that further than the original unit could go.
Oh, yeah, add extra.
Really tunnel into its thing, yeah. And so
I wonder if they do that.
I hope it sounds, like a super Wave, if that makes any sense.
Maybe so.
Because there's loads of flexible synths.
Yeah, absolutely. Yoad, I know you've got some of that Waldorf stuff here. I don't know if have you got the original, or did you get?
I have the Microwave XT, which I've not used the Wave, the Microwave, the original one. However, before we get into that, more importantly, for years I have a speaker switcher here, like a line switcher, basically, that drives 3 different speaker systems. And for years I used, because on the volume you can maybe hear, it's a lush, big Neve volume 8-way, because this center section came from a film console, so I used to use 7.1. Now I don't use it anymore. But anyway, so beside it, to change to switch the left-right speakers, I used to use the big red knob from the Microwave. Because it kind of, I had the blue one for the Neve and from the Neve, and this one had like a shitty kind of substitute. And then a few months ago, I spotted a washing machine on the street, and this is what I took out of it, the main knob, and it fits perfectly. It's the same size as the Neve. And you can hear the lovely clicking sound.
How delightfully satisfying.
Oh shit! Now I lost you. Okay. So basically, the Microwave got its knob back. Its big red knob. So that's the main thing I have to say about that. But other than that, I think from what I heard, the plugin sounds really good. I think they went a long way trying to emulate I think it's 12-bit D2A, and with all the noise and all that. Regarding what you said, Ben, I think if you use some kind of plugins after a Serum or whatever that introduce like harmonics, whatever it is, whether it's waves or UAD or whatever, tape or kind of Neve or Pultex and things like that, you will get some of that back. I would say that a lot of the sound comes from the quantization noise and otherwise just noise, component noise and stuff like that. So if you introduce dithering or some sort of colored noise, then that will also, especially if it's stereo, so it's different on both channels, and it kind of blends in and gives you obviously some 50 hertz if you're in Europe, or 60 if you're in the States.
Are you talking about adding that to the actual sound? So you add that
absolutely.
After the plugin,
and it makes such a big difference. and you can basically, if you don't want it to run in the background, you can run it in parallel to like the additional noise. The harmonics obviously has to go on the sound itself, because it in kind of intermodulations and all that between the polyphone, especially when you play polyphonically. But if you want to add noise and you don't want it to accumulate and run in the background, you can duplicate your MIDI parts with like a sine wave or something like that, and use it as a sidechain for the noise and hum, like hiss and hum channels. So only when you and play with a release according to whether it's a pad or whatever the sound is, and so you can only hear the noise when the thing actually plays and not in between. And it adds so much, and it makes it's kind of clean and digital synth plugins sound
okay
better. I
think you just described a plugin that needs to be made that you can put in post, so you can chain two of these things. You just described something that probably you should get someone to make or make yourself there, I think.
But if you use something like Studio Rec, which I'm going to plug, Wave Studio Rec, which obviously I've been involved in the making of, then you can do that internally, because you can have parallel chains with sidechain and crossovers and stuff. So you can make something like that you just insert over any digital synth, and it will have the tape and stuff on the signal path, and then it will have the additional kind of noise making. And you can even use stuff like the J37 tape or a UAD tape or something like that, which will give you the noise and the hum and all that modeled on the real stuff. Or you can create it yourself, just 50 hertz square wave oscillator will give you a nice hum, and then you filter it and stuff.
So there you go, Ben. You just get the plugin and then set up that massively complicated.
That was the short answer. Yeah.
No, that's what I love about software, though, is the power to do that. I've done a lot of that with Vinyl Crackle and trying to make things sound like it's kind of sampled in more of a hip hop context. And whether you pull a nice kind of Vinyl Crackle sample, I actually found what works really well is a recording of a fire. Twigs cracking and fire kind of movement works really well as a kind of vinyl roll-off crackle loop, if you like. But doing exactly what Yoad said of noise gating that side-chained against a synth part or a bass or a vocal chop to make that come in and out and kind of pulse in time. And then I get into the kind of nerdiness of, if I'm repitching a sample, do I need to repitch the noise? Does it need to sound like the noise was on the sound and that's been worked and moved together?
It depends of whether you want it to sound like you sampled it with a noise, and then the noise will be pitched up and down with a sample, or like a Mirage or something like that just has noise.
Yeah.
By the way, you can check out Wave's Lo-Fi, because it has exactly that built in. We had like 40 different types of noises which you can choose from, and you have a gate where it kind of sidechained already.
I really like the noise oscillator on Serum for that, because you can key track, and under the kind of, let's quote, air quote, normal noise section, there's about 10 different flavors of what should be white noise. And out of 2600 white noise.
If I'm not
are they?
Mono.
I've not noticed that.
The thing with noise, as soon as you do, it's as soon as it's stereo, it sounds completely different. Even on a mono signal, if the noise itself is stereo, it gives it that. And also the randomness, if it's mixed with a stereo sound, it kind of blends in.
We're getting
with the sound,
deep into this. Deep into this
between the two channels.
It's the original Blowfield a stereo one. I've just been looking into it whilst we're chatting. I've been listening, of course, because the stereo noise is an interesting point, because it's two random. That's cool, but I didn't realize that the Waldorf, like you say, it's analog filter, analog VCAs, and just check it out. It's the Curtis chip, so it's the same chips as Prophet 5s and things like that. And also, like you say, the Mirage, same filters. I think the PPG is even the Curtis chips as well. It's just amazing that they're all using the same Curtis chips. So you get that. It's not that they're the same circuit design, but they've got that familiar filter sound, the analog.
Yeah. There's also a version of the Q, not the one I have, which has analog filters. So it has 16 analog filters because it's 16 voice. The one I have is unfortunately digital. It still sounds. There are certain kind of things, boxes or hardware that it doesn't matter whether it's digital or analog because it has a sound, and that's the sound, and it just sounds amazing. This Q sounds so big, so massive.
Interesting.
But plugins we all know, and I always say it, that using plugins for me, it's just so much easier because it's right here, and then
that's true.
You do it, and that's it.
Okay, I'm going to just take a break there, and then I'm going to come back to another topic to close up. But just a message from our friends over at.
I use Kontakt literally every day. I have so many Kontakt instruments.
Kontakt still on sale, 50% off till September 17th. In fact,
anything more realistic than these libraries.
So from 269 down to 134.50.
It just allows me to just spread my wings with production.
Access to a huge library of studio quality sounds and synthesis. Like I say, 50% off till September 17th. Don't forget, there is also, in fact, you could use the code Sonic10 at Native Instruments as well. I don't know if it saves on the sale, but anything else you might want to get, save yourself 10%. We thank them very much for their support. Wow, okay. I was going to come back to you, Sam, and go, when you're designing your stuff, do you... Because I get the feeling you kind of just you go at it quite fast, and it's sort of it's very momentum driven. Do you then have to go back and deal with things like noise, or is that baked into your process of design?
I live with the noise. Now, just a correction. I correct myself. PPG. It was in the comment. They corrected SSM chips. It's PPG is much older, so it makes sense. And also the plugin, you can select between the Curtis filters or the original product. I just read it back on the comments, so you can switch the filters on the plugin.
That's useful.
But regarding noise, it all depends which project it is. Sometimes I've just got to roll with the noise. If it's like something for production or something that I need to use live and stuff, I will have to work on it. But the synths are a bit... I find that synths aren't as susceptible to noise as, hear me out, as line level things. Because the synth, before it goes to line level, like the modular synth and the things, it's running on usually plus or minus 12 volts. That's a 24 volt power line. That's 24 volts. And the ground hum, the noise hum, is respectfully quite low in that kind of thing. So noise is less of an issue, I think. You still get it if it's been baked in somewhere, but it's a lot less common than trying to sort out noise in a effects pedal or an amplifier, I think.
Yeah, I suppose so. Well, I mean, when you're amplifying a guitar signal, there's a lot of amp going on there because it's such a quiet thing. So that's where it becomes more important. Interesting. Ringtones. I don't know. I thought this was kind of fun. There's a ringtone here. This was news of the. There's an article on Gear News that Flying Lotus had done a couple of ringtones that have been on your phone since iOS 13. This is Daybreak, will probably get sued for it, and Chalet. You can actually buy ringtones again. This was back in the 2000s. This sort of brought up the whole notion. I mean, great story on, go and check that out. It's very well written on Gear News. The link should be in the show notes. But it just made me think that ringtones have been this sort of constant touch point from, I don't know what, the 90s. You know, you go back to Rocket Network, you go back to the Thomas Dolby story when, you know, he went to California and kind of created this huge polyphonic ringtone sort of empire, and it all came crashing down. And it's still a thing. It almost feels like I was looking, there's places you could buy them directly at the iTunes store, so it's still a thing. They're between $1 and $1.29 a track, which is, I don't know if that's similar to what you pay for a track on iTunes for actual music that, you know, somebody wrote a song, for instance. But if you do watch out for something called Unique Apps, because their subscriptions are from $4.99 weekly, which would take you to $20 a month to have a ringtone. So watch out for that one. That sounds like a bit of a scam. Anyone done any ring? I know, Yoad, you've done ringtones. Has anyone else done ringtones?
Yeah.
I've tried to make a synthony, which is 15 Nokia 3310s that they all play one after the other. You know, you can program your own ringtone. I still never finished that project. Please don't nick it. I've got them all bolted Velcro to a wooden plank. But no,
what a great idea.
As far as I've gone.
Wow. Okay, so that's a ringtone symphony rather than an actual ringtone. Although, if you sampled that and then put it, that'd be very meta. You sample it and then put it and make it available as a ringtone. That sounds like exactly.
But only make it available. Only available for Nokia 30
to patrons.
Oh,
to patrons.
$5 a week on the app.
$5.
There we go. Money well spent, I'm sure.
He wants the room within a room within a room of make it on the Nokia, sample it, make that the ringtone on the Nokia, and just Nokia in a Nokia in a Nokia in a Nokia until you end up with just the essence of what that thing is, like the room tone.
Just the noise.
In a room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Essence.
That's an interesting idea. Well, it's like sort of endless bouncing, isn't it? I suppose you could do that. That's an interesting one. Yeah, Yoad, I mean, I know you've done ringtones, you've done sounds for Skype. And all that sort of stuff.
I did all the sounds for Skype. So everything you hear on Skype, and that was quite an interesting project. And I wish I could play, because there are so many versions. There were like, I don't know, 20 or 30 different versions with different vibes. And then we settled on the one that you can hear now, which annoyingly is still out of sync. And the number of emails that I wrote to Microsoft after we finished it, obviously I sent it looped, and like you just have to loop the file and then it will be in time, but it's not. You hear like it's like, it's so annoying. And so I did those, and I incorporated a lot of acoustic sounds in that. So I went in the live room with a drumstick and a mic, one of the Neumann's KM86i that I mentioned before, just long cable, and I held it like that to mic stands, guitars, whatever I could hit, cymbals, a lot of stuff. I created a bank of like 200 different random hits, the window, whatever, and then I pitched them down and reversed and this and that. So in every sound that you hear, like the disconnect or the pickup or the thing, there are also acoustic sounds, which I think there's something about that makes it a little bit less Super Mario-y. If you know what I mean. So it's a little bit more, I think,
it's
relatable.
I mean, I can't imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I'm just trying to think, because it's hard enough. I imagine doing stuff for somebody like Microsoft or any kind of ringtone company where it's actually part of the, all the startup sound for Microsoft or whatever it may be. Those things where a lot of people will have an idea of what it shouldn't be, as opposed to here's some ringtones you can charge $1 for. I can't imagine, because I've been involved in some of those meetings where you're literally talking about a half a second hit, and the 5 people have an opinion about what the content of that should be and how you could change it. I don't know if anybody's, but I mean, sometimes we, as creative people, you end up in that situation, and it's insane to a degree. I imagine. I mean, I'm not asking you to name names or anything, Yad, but did you find was that the sort of process involved? No, right.
No, it wasn't like that, luckily, in my case, and I wasn't involved with stuff like that, like you're describing, because I just don't have the patience for that. But that was for me, it was a very creative process, and I quite enjoyed it. It was more about deciding on which track after I've created. Like, there's one with piano, one with kind of synthy strings, one more electro-y, and all doing the same Skype melody, but there's so many different versions.
That sounds like a pack waiting to be released.
The final one, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what we need to take from this, folks, is that we're all, I think we're all, certainly three of us are on Patreon, as we kind of try and discover ways to connect with our audience and give them what they want. Maybe what they want is ringtones and Skype tone remixes, or screensavers, Sam. I mean, I don't know what products you offer. Mostly audio stuff on your Patreon, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is in my head right now. All I've got is the Skype thing, and now when you said about it's out of time, boom, 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 and then you're saying there's a pause. Like, you have to, if you're going to make a remix of it, it's got to be,
I don't know, maybe
out of time.
70 milliseconds or something. It's so annoying.
Yeah. Oh, that is so good. So I wonder what timing. Yeah, you've got. If you're going to play drums to it, you have to wait 70 milliseconds.
No, you can't. You can't.
But yeah, I could offer that on Patreon. Like, make it do a jam and get it up. But yeah, products wise on Patreon, I just whatever I can offer, I try to do as much as I can, because ultimately it's paying for the electronic components. So I try to do as much as I can. I don't know whatever I can do that week.
Yeah, interesting. Well, we've been doing impulse responses, which actually seem to be pretty popular, and that works and people seem to love those. And that I did a load of from the MIDI-Verb 2, which I've got here, which was very poorly. You had to set the knobs in the right position, because otherwise it fed back on itself. And if you dialed up a patch like number 45, which is always a very long, it would just go into this continual feedback loop, and the only way you could stop it is turn it off. So you get the knobs in the right place, and they stopped bleeding from input to output, and it started to work.
Nice.
We suffered for that.
So impulse responses of machines instead of acoustic ones. I see. Yeah.
Yeah, some classic stuff, but I mean, I guess we might do some more things. But I mean, I guess you could probably do. I guess you could do some of your kind of more outlandish amplifiers. Things that
maybe.
were.
Yeah, like I did
a sort of tonal character.
Big old copper tube delay pipeline, and then with time back.
Yeah. Oh man, you should do that. That would be brilliant.
That's a very good point. I didn't think about that. Cheers, Nick. Yeah, good idea. And it was in the comments, but you know when it needs somebody to say it in words for it to click in your head.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just an aside, I don't. If you use Logic has the best, I think, method for making them, because it has a little impulse response utility that you can set the inputs and the outputs, and you can make the sweep as long as you want. So it lasts a really long time, but it still makes the final convolution. But what you do is you do it in that, you record, you save the projects, and you get these SDIR files, which you then drop on the timeline of something like Reaper, and then export them as WAVs. And then they will just drop in any old convolution reverb. So there's a lot of ways to do it. But
I'm in Logic right now. I'm trying to find it. I'll have a look.
You have to go. No, you have to go to Space Designer, and then in Space Design,
of course, yeah.
You go to Space Design and you click on Sample IR. Then it shows up a little kind of readout, and you right click on that, and it has impulse response utility. So once you've launched that, drop that on your taskbar, because you will never find it again. You can't find it via the pro. You can't say search for it and launch it. The only way to access it is through that tiny little sort of porthole in the menu item of Space Designer. It's bizarre that they've done that. It's really peculiar, but it works.
Maybe it scares people off.
But I have to say that if you want kind of a quirky lo-fi sound for your pipe reverb and stuff, I would just use an impulse. I would even try if it's an acoustic thing, you don't even have to use the speaker, because if it's like an actual pipe, you can try bursting a balloon on one end. And because that will give you quite a clean acoustic impulse, because the reason why you can't really run pure impulse through a speaker, because it will never be able to play back the impulse. It will, look like all filtered and kind of the transient will be all over the place. But if you do it acoustically with either a spike machine, something that will create electric spike really loud, or bursting a balloon, then for acoustic stuff, that can work well.
Interesting. Electric spike machine. That's an interesting way of doing it.
But you do have to be able to, I mean, because with the IR utility, it puts a sweep with it, and then it subtracts.
No, but if you do it like that, if you do it with an actual impulse, then it's just the WAV that you record on the other end. That's it. You don't have to deconvolve it.
Well, there we go, Nick. That's what you could do on holiday.
Yeah, maybe. Well, we did do a topic the other day, wasn't it, where these chant freaks went to and did a vocal kind of recital inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, and they only recorded it on an iPhone, and it just sounded terrible. You go to all that trouble, and then you recorded it on like an iPhone, honestly. So I'm not taking all that equipment with me, to be honest. I think I'm going to, I'll just keep it from memory. I have been to it, because when one does go on holiday and find yourself in sort of medieval spaces, and there's an amazing church I went to in a place where I used to go to in France, and it was because some of those churches are very empty of anything. They don't have any tapestries, they don't have anything. There's just some chairs, and that's it. And those are the ones that you get enormous impulse responses. But I think popping balloons and setting up mics is a bit, it's a bit intrusive for a lot of those spaces. But yeah, I suppose. Anyway, good fun. So I think we're kind of pretty much there. It's been an absolute pleasure. What's next for you, Sam? Then you've done this gig. You went to all this trouble for that one-off. Are you going to do the same anywhere else? Are you doing any more gigs for that for the Microcosmo?
Yeah, actually, there is another gig coming up in a week and a month, playing with Heimbach, doing the things that we did together. I have no idea how we're going to do it. We're still trying to figure that out, but that is in the start of October sometime. I think it might be Machina Brestonica as well. Is
cool.
everybody going Machina?
I will be there. Yeah, definitely be there.
You going, Divkid?
Yeah.
How about you, Ad?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, we'll see you all there. Yeah, apart from that, I'm about to go and finish soldering a Compton organ, making it MIDI-fied. It's the one with the spinning tone generators. Have you seen that?
Tone wheel.
No.
Yeah,
is it tone wheels?
But it's electrostatic. You open the inside of it, you look at it. There's etched sine waves, like a vinyl player of sine waves.
Oh, wow!
It's mental. Nice. It runs on 500 volts. 500 volts between one disc to the other.
Yeah, that's how. Well, careful. Make sure you're earthed, Sam. I don't want to see any problems. Don't want you kind of a smoking pair of boots left in the workshop, as in true comedic style. Before I go, I didn't actually mention what's coming up. I've got the Teenage Engineering Medieval Review coming up. We did have our first Superstar Hangout, which was great fun. If you're a superstar and you didn't manage to get to that live, you'll be able to access that as a recording on Patreon. We've got Synthmaster 3 videos coming up on the 2nd of September. Will Gregory interview next week. This is the last show for 2 weeks. So yeah, pre-record of Will Gregory, no show on the 11th, and that's it. But so yeah, what about you, Yoad? What's next to you? Alt-tabbing into some monster Atmos mix, or have you got something else on the go?
I'm actually doing a stereo mix right now. And working on some other projects in the audio tech world, which I can't specify, but something big. But it will take some time before it will see the light of day. But yeah, exciting stuff.
Excellent.
I'm very.
Excellent. I saw a documentary. I saw a documentary the other day about Girls Aloud, and I was thinking, I'm sure. And then I was listening to that, and I looked it up, and I saw that you were involved in some of those early pop classics.
With
yeah, excellent. What about you, Ben? What's next for you?
Some more, planning out some future Trace videos. My new module, we've already mentioned that one. If people want anything specific from that, go leave a comment on my video. I'm kind of doing a user requested things you'd like to see with Trace type video. A bit more playing around with 5U, some things to learn in there. There is another DivKit module before the end of the year, so we're right kind of in the middle of getting all that together. And then events. We've got NobCon next weekend, which I'm 95% sure I'll be at. And then it's not far from Synfest, Machina Bistronica. Event
Three
season.
big events, it certainly is. Yeah, we won't be at NobCon. Jim, one of our US friends, may well be there. We haven't quite worked that out. He might be there anyway, but not sure if he's going to be there on Sonicstate Business. If not, because they're just so close together, it's kind of crazy. And for you, Sam, I guess you're back to the workshop and soldering, as you said. So people can find more stuff about your Lookman Note Computer on YouTube or lookmannotecomputer.com.
Yeah.
So I think I saw some listings there. Okay, fantastic. So
Awesome.
that's it for this.
Nice.
Yeah, that's it for this week. Much appreciated. Thanks for everybody. I hope you all have the rest of what remains of the summer. I guess it's 2 days. So we're nearly there. I'd say I'm going to be on holiday, so I won't care anymore. See you all next week. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody in the chat room. We'll see you around. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.